Let us pray. Almighty God, we ask for your blessing and wisdom upon this Parliament. Direct and prosper our proceedings to the peace and welfare of the people of Solomon Islands. We ask this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Parliament is resumed.
Asking and answering of questions.
Thank you. Question number 47 to be asked by the Leader of Opposition and MP for Aotearoa. Honourable Member.
Oui, Mr. Speaker and Paio. Sir, question 47, again, Hemi Golo, my good friend, the Minister for Health, and Hemi Riddle Sem, how many surgeons are working in the public health system? Where are they serving? How many are needed? And what steps are being taken to increase the number of surgeons working in the public health system? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Minister for Health and Medical Services.
Thank you, Speaker. I wish to again acknowledge and thank the MP for Aotearoa and the Opposition Leader for the question raised this morning. Mr. Speaker, relating to question A and B, as of October 2025, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services has a total of 17 practicing specialist surgeons in the public sector with the following breakdown. And as per their location of services, Okada General Surgeons, Imigarem 6, Fofala Lo NRH, National Referral Hospital, 1 Hemlock Gizo Hospital, 1 Hemlock Luffy Hospital. Orthopedic surgeons or the doctors who are specialized Lo Bone, Trifalana Yomigarem, they are all based at the National Referral Hospital. Where the surgeons were specialized for doing eye surgery, ophthalmologist or the column, Trifala, they are all based at NRH, National Referral Hospital. There's another group of surgeons called obstetricians or gynecologists or what for operating or the women loyume who have issues, whether it be a surgical delivery or other issues for women, Imigarem Fofala, they are all based law NRH. Mr. Speaker, for ENT, for surgery, law, sickness, law, nose, ear and throat, Imigarem Wanfala, where Hemi based law National Referral Hospital, law Yumi. In terms of human resource development, Bloimi, the ministry is supporting the training and upskilling of total of 15 medical officers in surgical specialties, and current number of Uketa now, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to highlight them. Lord General Surgery, currently 5 alana on training. Ophthalmology, where I can Hem 1 on training. Obstetrics and gynecology for the women, for Falana on training. And then orthopedic surgery for bone, Hemi 4. And again, ENT, ear, nose and throat for surgery, Hemi 1 Fala. Mr. Speaker, we anticipate that if all current trainees successfully complete him now, training blocketa, we will double the number in the next 5 years, improving access to surgical services across our provinces. Mr. Speaker, let me go to the question C and D, referring to the number needed and future plans below ministry. Based on international benchmark recommended by the WHO and the Lancet Commission on Global Surgery, as well as adaptation to the Solomon Islands population, where Barawa grow, at a rate of 3.5%, and also what the disease burden that Imi Garem related to the need of the surgery. The Ministry of Health has estimated the following ideal minimum workforce targets. Law General Surgeons, Mr. Speaker, the ideal minimum number where you need him and 15 current, also we say 6 on training, 4 and you got a gap of 4. We must tell them no, the challenge is blue me the leaders here ophthalmologist, ideal number where you need him 6 current you got him 3 on training 1 gap him 2 you need him another 2 for on training. Obstetricians and gynecologists, Mr. Speaker, you may need him 12. We currently got him 3 on training, him 4, and we got him now 5 or some gap. So there is a big need, Mr. Speaker, if you have come law statistics that we need more on obstetricians and gynecologists law areas of surgery. Orthopedic surgeons, Mr. Speaker, you got him 5, at least you got him 4, and current on training and 4. So we're looking into buying able for Garam 8, where gap 0. Imi close him that for 1 for orthopedic surgery. Ogata for ENT, where ear, nose, and throat surgeons, Mr. Speaker, you may need him ideal minimum needed, hemi 4, current and 1, on training and 1, and so we have the gap of 2. These figures, Mr. Speaker, are reflecting the growing demand for the surgical services in the country, including life-saving procedures, maternal care now, or the care for the mommy or the woman, trauma care, and also non-communicable disease-related surgeries. I think when I said trauma care, all of us, when we are driving, please don't drive and drink. You may also increase the need for the trauma care. So I want to ask our good people across Solomon Islands, when you are on the wheel, ensure that you drink beer, because you are just adding to the current burden that we are having. Mr. Speaker, these figures also one of the issues that we are having, and I'm acknowledging the opposition leader for raising this question. Let me also inform this House, Mr. Speaker, that the National Referral Hospital 2022 to 32 10-year specialist planning provides a clear structural pathway for the professional development of surgical doctors, recognize the need for the robust tiered training to meet the evolving demand of healthcare. This framework, Mr. Speaker, is composed of three progressive levels, each designed to cultivate a new generations of skilled practitioners, which also fostering advancing surgical expertise. So 3 levels, let me just summarize it, Mr. Speaker. One is diploma, and then another one has master's level. So level 1 is diploma, level 2 is master's program, and then you may say super specialist or subspecialist. So subspecialist is you are having like what cardiologists, cardiological surgeries can be performed by subspecialists. So those are the 3 levels where I try to talk about in statement, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before me close, me like for taking this for the opportunity for thanking all the surgeons, law country, for the passion and the duty that they have. They are very important people, and I'm glad that on the other day I have the opportunity to acknowledge and thank to the anesthetists that are working surgical rooms, surgeons can't work without anesthetists, and surgeons cannot, anesthetists cannot work without surgeons, Mr. Speaker. And I'm glad that this question is brought before this Parliament, and I want to thank them for their efforts. In my medical school, Mr. Speaker, I have the experience of standing 38 hours in surgical rooms, and I know how it really feels to be in the theater. You miss your family. During celebrations, the surgeons are working, or when we have fun times, the surgeons and the anesthetists are working, and I want to thank them for their effort and the duty of call that they do at the surgical rooms. Surgeons, Mr. Speaker, in the field of medicine, we only have two forms, I must say. One is medicine, another one, knife and fire. Yeah. So surgeons over the hilimiumi with knife and fire. Knife is the scalpel, fire is the cauterization. So they cut and block by bending your tissue. So when I was in the surgical room, I always said, "Babaki usemden, hemna how me full block him or the bleeding." So those are some of the things to which leaders here did me like for informing me. And let's take the time to acknowledge those doctors that are working during odd hours. Even when there is a need in the emergency time, they stood up and worked to give the second chance to life. Once again, I thank the opposition leader for the opportunity that I could talk about the surgeons, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the floor. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Leader of Opposition.
Thank you. I do thank the Minister for informative response. Lo side logo the orthopedic surgeons logo the manlo bone. The Minister may say no any gap filled, but I know he also said that everyone lo here lo number 9 no. So there is no plan to decentralize that service to at least Gizo and Kilufi or perhaps beyond. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, Opposition Leader. Yes, it is a need in the rural areas. No must say futuristic when we say there is no gap. Yeah, no, every health workforce, by me say gap no more. I thank you for raising that. I will ensure that our planning team in this area must not put on zero lock up. Yeah, let's plan for the future. I thank you for raising the question. Thank you. You may need for decentralizing.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Leader of Opposition.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Just in terms of OBS and gynae, that seems to have the largest gap in terms of existing need now for services. If I'm correct, that has the largest gap. And capacity blow you me. I come back to what I said yesterday with regards to when we were discussing anesthetists. The need for Yumi Losinu to move to a fully fledged medical faculty. Samvalo Yumi Lo here, time Yumi go to heaven, what no worry body, but you must donate him boy for the Dr. Lalania or Kakatem. I would look, this one no money, and can wait him. But make a body or Kakatem or practice loheme. So perhaps the ministry itself needs to be thinking about that, how we can start. OBS and gynae would seem to me one of our biggest need because that's half the population here. And we know for sure, by what mommy must deliver. It's not two ways about it. Kind of daddy no like rest here. So we know for sure those services demand for him be consistent and increasing. So that gap would seem to me by him increase all the way no more if we don't plug it. And it seems, given space restrictions for UPNG and Longo FNU, that we need to perhaps be a little bit more proactive in poking a little bit, seeing for start wakalohem now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank the opposition leader. The idea of having a medical school is something that I have informally discussed with some of my counterpart ministers Law Pacific during our our international engagement, we are looking to establish a medical school. Now we need to see whether we have the right economy, the right population, and who our partners are. It is not yet formal, it's the informal discussions when we have international engagement. And for instance, is my counterpart with Minister of Vanuatu, where we talked about especially solving the deficit health workforce across the Pacific. For us, they asked if we could give nurses to Tuvalu, Vanuatu, and other Pacific Island countries. And we need to really upskill, or not only upskill, but improve our medical faculty. I haven't yet had the opportunity to discuss with the Vice Chancellor the needs, even when I went to have a Commonwealth Health Ministers meeting. Even country like Jamaica, in our informal meetings, they also requested me if I could give them nurses. So the recommendations that's put by the opposition leader is something that we need to seriously look into and put more emphasis on writing up or come up with a good business case. Otherwise, we have a medical school and then immunogharem people and the economy to run it. So thank you, opposition leader, through the speaker. Now I will try and look. I will have another meeting next week with my counterpart ministers, and maybe it will be one of the things that I would want to discuss. Fortunately, FNU could accept us, some of our students, and UPNG. So those institutions are the main institutions which they trained our people, but it's good to look beyond those institutions as well. I thank you, Speaker, and I thank you, Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you, Honourable MP for East Arare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Leader of Opposition, for the question, and also thank you, the Minister, for your hard work the last few days, taking all these questions and answering them really well. I think in terms of going forward and medical schools, I think we can say that it's a matter of when, not if. I think that is just a population issue for us, economics, as you say, and if we can combine with the other smaller countries in the Pacific, I think it makes sense, economic sense for us. But that's something to really carefully consider. Yeah, Jamaica, it'll be good to see what we can do together there as well. Watagaram CDF too, yeah? So maybe we can learn from their CDF program too, that they've had perhaps longer than us. In terms of the question, Mr. Speaker, is with regards to, we're talking about those surgeons that are in the public sector, as it were, but then there are others that perhaps in the private that perhaps also lend their skills, when the time comes, or what is the arrangement for that as well? Some fellow where might be specialist in certain fields, and then there's certain surgeries needed. What is the arrangement there to engage Solomon Islanders who are perhaps private practitioners, but have the skill sets to do a certain specialist kind of surgery? What's the arrangement? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank MP for his Arere. I hope I could say that correctly. In terms of having surgeons in the private practice, we do have one that is actively practiced law private, and we have another one that is in the company now. That is where I said earlier on this week that we need to have a dual practice provisions, law you mean, so that you can work law public and also work law private. But I have heard that the one, our only urologist, that sometimes go do him now, TEB, law NRHs on a need basis. So we need to look into it and also set up a provision. So him now the Health Service Act, where Ministry and Wakal, I'm looking into the rights for dual practice, both in the public and the private sector. So let's fix our laws first, laws, health governance, and then we could take on board what you have suggested, my good friend MP for East Area. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Leader.
Yes, I do wish to thank the Honourable Minister for the responses to them. It's clear, these areas of need. It's also clear, also Member Blow Istarar Talem, Sinu must step up now. It's a matter of when, but when you mean like next year, no more now, following year also, you know, like postpone more. Let's get these things done. Our population is going to be 1 million in just a few years. And our economy is able to afford it. Even without other countries in the region partnering with us, we're able to afford a fully fledged medical faculty and the population base for him. Actually, by donating body for what picnic, what the student practice learn. So there's the clinical basis also. So I think it's just a matter of having the will to say, you may do now. Start somewhere, slowly work away. There are, of course, other issues also. Minister Hemi mentioned, health governance, and good for that law to come. And a public health insurance scheme. Good for Ivaluluk Lohem. Have a policy Lohem that could pick up some of the financial burden that need not be imposed on the public on the budget. So these are issues that are critical to making sure that we have a reasonable healthcare system that is adequately supplied by health professionals in a timely manner. These are very important policy considerations. With those comments, I do again wish to thank the Minister for his responses.
Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition. Next question, question number 67, to be asked by the Leader of Independent Group and MP for East Malay. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question 67, Law or the people on Blomi for Minister of Law, Police, National Security and Correctional Services. Is the government intention to establish a military force? If so, what would be the rationale of having a military force? 2, how will it complement or differ from the existing police force? And 3, how will it impact existing regional security arrangements? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable MP for East Malay. Honourable Minister for Police and National Security.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and me like to also thank him too, Honourable Leader of the Independent Group and Member of Parliament for East Malaita, Deacon Honourable Manasa Mailanga, for very important question that I believe had me very important for you, me, understanding, but importantly sharing information that the people believe me throughout law, beloved country believe me law, understanding what the government believe me today and me doing. And so in relation to part A of the question, is the government intending to establish a military force? Honourable Speaker, the government has initiated preliminary policy work to explore the establishment of a Solomon Islands Defence Force. This initiative is being approached cautiously, strategically, and transparently as part of the broader implementation of the national security strategy that we have launched earlier. Sir, let me emphasize that this is not an attempt to militarize our nation, but rather a long-term nation-building effort aimed at enhancing Solomon Islands' resilience, sovereignty, and self-reliance. The intent is to develop a defense capability that allows our country to better respond to natural disasters, border security challenges, and maritime threats, areas that currently stretch the capacity of the Royal Solomon Islands Police Force. Part B, 1, what would be the rationale of having a military force? Sir, the rationale for establishing a Solomon Islands Defense Force is grounded in the national aspiration for self-reliance and sovereignty. The principle that the security of Solomon Islands must be owned, led, and sustained by Solomon Islands. A very tough aspiration I'm called for, but impossible for achieving, Mr. Speaker, sir. Our people have voiced through consultation under the National Security Strategy about their desire for a country that can stand on its own, defend its borders, and respond to crisis without over-dependent on external intervention. Our national experiences, sir, past, ethnic tensions, Bougainville crisis, the social unrest, those that you may be experiencing, clearly demonstrated the limitation of our current institution and the high cost of relying solely on policing or outside assistance during national emergencies. Therefore, the establishment of a defense force is a strategic forward-looking investment in national preparedness and resilience. It seeks to fill the existing capability gaps in maritime surveillance, border protection, disaster response, humanitarian relief, and national emergency management. Point B, number 2, how will it complement or differ from the existing police force? Sir, Royal Solomon Islands Police Force will continue to be our first line of defense. The principal institution responsible for law enforcement, maintaining internal security and public order. The proposed defense force will complement, not replace, the RSIPF. Its focus will be on non-policing roles, including national and maritime security, humanitarian and disaster response, and national emergency support in circumstances exceeding policing capacity. To ensure clear functional boundaries, the government will, of course, introduce in the future, still a long process to go, a defense legislation and a national security coordination framework, whereby I'm providing legal and operational demarcation, clear boundary between RSIPF and the Defense Force. This framework will also ensure civilians' oversight, accountability, and professionalism across both institutions. B, the third aspect of that question, where I'm saying, how will it impact existing regional security arrangement? Mr. Speaker, sir, Solomon Islands hereby remain fully committed to its regional and bilateral security partnership and will continue to honor all existing security agreements and cooperation framework. The establishment of a defense force will not undermine this relationship. Rather, it will enhance our contribution to regional stability and collective security. Sir, Solomon Island recognizes the value of regional solidarity and collective security. But we acknowledge that true security must begin home below Yumina, and that is a responsibility where we all are responsible, whether at home, faith-based institution, schools below Yumi, and those, of course, in our law enforcement institutions like RSIPF. While external partnership will remain important, they must be complementary to our national priority, not substitutes for our own responsibilities. Sir, on that note, we will also draw lessons from our Malay nations and Pacific brothers. We acknowledge Papua New Guinea's recent Pukpuk Treaty with Australia. We will consult PNG to learn more about how their defense cooperation preserve national sovereignty and constitutional control. Fiji, through its National Security Strategy 2025 to 2029, has taken a principled stand against allowing foreign military base on its soil, while continuing to engage partners through transparent, cooperative security arrangement. Tonga, for instance, under its defense cooperation program with Australia, has successfully developed its maritime and humanitarian response capacity, while retaining full national control over its forces. In the same spirit, sir, Solomon Islands will continue to participate in regional frameworks such as the Biketawa Declaration and the Boe Declaration on Regional Security, which call for self-reliance, cooperation, collective action against evolving security threats, OSEM transnational crime, and for Yumi, Solomon Island and Pacific Island, to climate change and natural disaster-related security threats and experiences. So, the establishment of a defense force will be a pace, not something perhaps just happen overnight. It might be not in the life of this, definitely not in the life of this House, and maybe not law term, law minister, law, or police too, long term. National endeavor pursued with care and accountability. So, sir, this initiative here is not about militarization, about nation building and development, preparing our country for future challenges while maintaining peace, law, and democratic oversight. By learning from Okata brothers Blue Yumi and sister or Pacific neighbors like Papua New Guinea, Fiji, and Tonga, Solomon Island can develop a defense capability that is sovereign, lawful, and cooperative in our view. Gold Blue Yumi is a security architecture that is uniquely Blue Solomon Island, rooted law sovereignty Blue Yumi, guided by law and strengthened by strategic partnership that support, not substitute, our national responsibility. Within that one, it is only fitting for Yumi continue to acknowledge him and thank him RSIPF. Since independence now, try for maintaining law and order, given some of the sentiments like increase of our population, and Yumi like for pursue socio-economic development, and good for government and start look this particular policy and see through consultation and of course working with all leaders and every stakeholders to see that Yumi establishing in the future a sovereign Solomon Island defense force. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable MP for East Malaita and MP, Leader of Independent.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the Minister. We just like for supplementary question on listening to his answers to the questions, Mr. Speaker. So I mean that government have taken seriously the policy that looking at setting a defense force from now on, but later now, after after I'm ban or whatever, minister. So it means up Nara House now, means the next 4 years or something. Or something. Just like for Minister for clearing that one no more. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the leader of the independent group for that follow-up question. I think my statement me emphasizing that it's a process where we don't fix a time frame for it, but we recognize the urgent importance of you may work through local processes. So for now, we are at the policy, we are developing a policy whereby soon current concept and ensure that it will be followed through local processes will be maximum. So there's no fixed time frame, but the agency is there given the evolving security challenges in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you, Honourable MP for East Choiseul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All the, thank you for the answers, Mr. Speaker, Minister. The discussions law this matter may take place all the time under the DCGA government discussions. We may start holding with the Commissioner of Police will look at this arrangement. So I guess that's where the question come. Discussions are up and come finished, but why now? But no seriously look at him. So, but we may have more answers, below, Minister. Of course, we need to. And we can understand, I guess, the cautious approach in taking notice from Mr. Speaker, the learning from the experiences that in Garam law, I think, crisis in Olsen. We will start a lesson for learning from that as well. So we can understand the cautious approach that he may take in that matter before he may go seriously into establishing a defense force that the sovereign government by have control over it. I think the control issue will be very important here. That the government must have control of the military force. So the origin is for me question and maybe the Prime Minister will me help out. And if you look at the population of this region, Mr. Speaker, it is predominantly made up of Melanesians. So we made up of about 95% of the population of this region. So when you talk about this region, you usually talk about Melanesian. Melanesia got a problem, the region got a problem. Mr. Speaker. So this idea of even though go jump go forum first time, even start with the Melanesian peer group. There was talk of you may look at the Melanesian military force or something, or some kind of defense arrangements that he made up of the 5 Melanesian states, the region, Mr. Speaker. And I don't know where it is now, and now you start to talk about the region now. I think we better start with him, our own region. Bring the Prime Ministers in, Mr. Speaker. Talk local. Let's not be, isolated himself. I hear Papua New Guinea is brokering, of course, the peace, the peace treaty with him, America, already, and the treaty is so wide, Mr. Speaker, that it's allowing military assets of American land anytime without any permission. And those are serious matters that we may need to discuss as a security region. Under our strategy, Mr. Speaker, that no any military assets from foreign country, land in this country without the permission of the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. That is not what is happening in Papua New Guinea. So that matter we need to look at as well too. So, but I think the question is, where are we? Lord, this whole matter of Melanesian Spirit Group security arrangements, so that you may take the lead
if there is any issues, law reach Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable MP for East Churchill. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I understand there are other broader policy issues in relation to MSG that the Prime Minister might also support you in terms of response, but specifically in terms of me acknowledging na MP for East Choizo, law important comments, and of course, yes, it's been a policy that several government or try to pursue, an agency lo yumi lo lukem yumi start for work alohem. In terms of our policy, of course, as I've said, first home na, and our current arrangement, we recognize the importance of reaching out to our closest and, of course, MSG group first. And so in all current assessment law, security threats and possible call for assistance, or saying we place Papua New Guinea and North Melanesian countries being as our next bilateral regional partner for supporting UMI. And so I agree that and can confirm that that's where we will be actually going in terms of how UMI come and finalizing now, or the concept of UMI time we developing now our security. Our defense force, and of course have been captured law, RSIPF cooperation law with countries. In terms of MSG, I will allow the Prime Minister for him to make comment on that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank the leader of the independent group and the MP for East Malaita for the original question, and of course for the supplementary question raised by the honourable member for East Choizo on this matter. Yes, in terms of the approach that we are taking as a government, yes, the approach is once our bilateral, so once our national mechanisms are not capable to respond to any emergency, then the next step is to look to our Melanesian neighbors, that is the MSG. So we have arrangements currently with Papua New Guinea in terms of police deployment. We also signed on the margins of the ECS forum the security arrangement with Fiji. So these are avenues that we, within the MSG, that we can use in the event that we need those support. So it will be based on our request before we go out to the forum. So the MSG arrangements are there, especially with Papua New Guinea, and of course now also with Fiji. In terms of the defense arrangements, Papua New Guinea and Fiji, of course, they have defense forces, Solomon Islands, and Vanuatu does not. So that is also the gap in terms of the discussions. But the discussions within the MSG space, in terms of the MSG having the MSG military force, basically to respond not only in terms of conventional security threats within the MSG, but also non-conventional in terms of natural disasters and probably other threats. That has been an ongoing discussion for the last number of years. I take the point that we probably need to step up on the discussions, but the gap is there. PNG, MGARM Defense Force, and Fiji, Solomons, Vanuatu, I think paramilitary or Tagarem. So that's also, hence the importance of the work that Minister of Police and Talam, in terms of the need to look at a defense force of our own as the MP for East Chesol and Talem rightly, there has been discussions on this over the last few years, and that is why the question came from the leader of the independent group. I think that cautious approach is important, so that it's not only about the numbers, but also the cost in terms of sustaining these arrangements. At the moment where we are now, while this preliminary policy work is ongoing, we are at the stage of even capacitating the capacity and the capability of the current RSIPF, both in terms of numbers, but also in terms of skills, logistics, and also. But the MSG discussion, in terms of an MSG military force, is an ongoing discussion. It will also depend very much on how ready we are. And in our case, we are yet to reach that level where Papua New Guinea and Fiji and Garam. Of course, Papua New Guinea has other arrangements with some other partners with the US. That is their own bilateral arrangements in terms of allowing other partners to come in with military equipment. So that's an internal arrangement for Papua New Guinea. But we do also need to look at those arrangements and again learn from those arrangements as well. So, Mr. Speaker, those are important policy discussions. But after policy, of course, the next stage is the legal framework, the bill. If we are going to have a defence force, then we'll have to have a defence bill going forward that will provide a legal basis for us to have the defence force. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister. Honourable Leader of Opposition.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the opportunity to just say a few words, contribute. It's a very important topic. I appreciate the cautious approach that is being taken. I just want to make 3 points. One is, of course, also Member Blow East Choice Olem Talem. We must learn from our own civil conflict. And you know, Fiji, of course, there has been a number of coups where military are directly involved. And New Guinea, I'm not no pay allowance of money, Olem can go to parliament. So what's something here? Policy must address it. How do we make sure this would never happen? And also Member Blow East Choice Olem Talem, civilian control of a defense force is critical. To make sure that they are accountable to Parliament in the final analysis. But meeting him also, the policy would hinge on that aspect, how we make sure it never happens, and of course the economics of it, whether we can afford to do it, when can we afford to do it. And of course, you know, something and start knowing and start big here, when start small and then we grow and we feel our way through it. But given our financing of the RSIPF, the constraints that we face, obviously those issues must be considered. So meeting him twofold issue now, he must determine when, the question of when. And the third issue, of course, is as you are continuing to cautiously explore this, continue to beef up the RSIPF, continue to resource it, to make sure that it can do all of those issues until such time that government's made the decision and legislation has been enacted, and then some of those services can then be moved to an appropriate platform. But in the meantime, it's good that the policy discussion is happening. Finally, I would like to just say, sir, that Holem Kam white paper, you may discuss in first time. Come to Parliament. No, wait, go Parliament is right at the end of it. Time him come to Bills Committee and then come for you, me debate him here now. This issue is so critical that you, me, now representatives must help to together inform it, influence it, mold it, shape it right from the word go. So once you are clear, whoever is looking at all these issues about what is the scope and the controlling parameters of this policy, bring it. Can you maybe workshop him so we we understand it and can contribute to it in the initial stages before having to go out to perhaps a broader set of consultation processes. Those are just a few comments I wish to make, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to sincerely thank the Leader of Opposition for very important policy observations, and I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, sir, that some of those, especially 1, 2, 3, we are actually taking those strategic policy direction in ensuring that we are doing the right thing. And I like the last recommendation for a white paper to come so that we all can contribute in developing this very important security institution that we aspire to have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable MP for East Malaita, Leader of the Independent Group.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We just like for thanking Minister for answering all the questions, and thank you for our colleague members too for supplementary questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let us now move on to our next item of business.
Motion number 21.
The Honourable Minister for Public Service, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I move that Parliament resolve to suspend Order 48, subsection 5B1, in accordance with Order 81 of the National Parliament Solomon Standing Orders, to permit the commencement of the second reading debate on the day following introduction of the motion that the Public Service Bill be read a second time. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This motion may move for allow now the continuous debate along the Public Service Bill 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, it is proposed that Parliament resolves to suspend Standing Order 48 5B1 in accordance with Order 81 of the National Parliament Solomon Standing Orders, to permit the commencement of the second reading debate on the day following the introduction of the motion that the Public Service Bill be read a second time. Does any member wish to comment on this motion before I put the question? Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, sir. As usual, I try and discourage suspension of standing orders. Sir, but in the circumstances, by no many other business to deal with in the interim, if we were to adjourn for the number of days before debate happen after second reading by the Minister, and therefore we have no issue with the motion to suspend the order. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition. Thank you, Honourable MP for East Choiseul.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I will speak in support of the motion too. Originally, we have some issues, and I think we've clarified that with the Attorney General. Some typing errors. No more the report make reference to the Public Service Act 1998. There is no such act. Law, list of other legislations. Believe me. The Public Service Act is kept 92, of course, and the date it was gazetted is 1988. And again, another amendment was done to it in 1989. So there's two, 1988 and 1989. So there's no such act as Public Service Act 1998. So we cleared that with the Attorney General. That's the act I'm straight never make reference to Cap 92. So that's according to the Attorney General, that's all that is needed for this whole act. I'm straight now, Mr. Or the act that repealed the Cap 92, Mr. Speaker. So that's the explanation we got from the Attorney General. The other issues, of course, I think that was was flagged very well during the committee by the questions on where the general orders will be and also many regulations and also, because those are things that actually make a municipal act work, Mr. Speaker. As during nowadays, Mr. Speaker, we have this administrative training center where everyone goes to learn and go learn MGO and learn him over the regulations as well. And the chief administrative officers, Mr. Speaker, you cannot write a letter. You write a letter, you must reference him to the MGO now. What GO you referencing before it makes sense. There's no more you know fit for Wakalo there now, Mr. Speaker. So that's how strict we are during those days, referencing what we do in the administration of government through all the regulations and orders that we got. But those are matters that will be raised during the maybe the committee stage, the debates, and when the response is made, we by me say where these things are, Mr. Speaker. So I think at this point in time, you might go along with the leader of the opposition. There's no issues there. We can start the debate. Maybe the members of the committee go quite faster now. If somehow by start to reading Mr. Report and say maybe next time the colored memory is try for reading this one, but then if we can blue, maybe white, white print him, white print. Sometimes I read him this one, but we struggle a little bit for reading now. Mr. Speaker says in blue and then black print, and find it very difficult to read the recommendations, which is the very important section of the report. In one glance, we should be able to pick up when now or the body of the report and Mr. Speaker. So I think with that said, we know Garaman, you will support the leader of the session, and we will support him that on behalf of my leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable MP, for his choice. Any further comments on that before I ask the Minister to respond to those observations that have been raised? Thank you. If there is none, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my opposition leader and the MP for his choice for their comments. Those comments are noted and will be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I will now put the question. The question is that Parliament resolves to suspend Standing Order 48.5D1 in accordance with Order 81 of the National Parliament of Solomon Islands Standing Orders to permit the commencement of the second reading, a debate on the day following the introduction of the motion that the Public Service Bill be read a second time. With those in favour, say aye. Those against, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The motion is therefore passed. Order 48.5B1 therefore stands suspended.
Bills, second reading, the Public Service Bill 2025.
Thank you. May I kindly ask, we're going to delve into the introduction of debate, remind members to comply with the rules of debate set out in our standing orders. The floor is now open for debate. Thank you. Honourable Leader of Opposition.
Mr. Speaker. Sir, I thank the Minister for introducing the bill to the House yesterday. I wish to also thank the Permanent Secretary and his team at the Ministry of Public Service, who have done immense work to get the bill to the House in its current form. I must also, sir, register my appreciation for the approach the Ministry has taken in their proactive engagement with the Bills Committee, which has resulted in a number of amendments to further clarify and strengthen the bill, as was referenced by the Minister yesterday. Sir, the committee was particularly impressed by the Ministry's genuine attitude when considering the recommendations by the committee. They were, sir, not unnecessarily defensive, but showed a sincere desire to strengthen the bill. Other ministries, sir, would do well to emulate their example in this matter. Of course, when one's work is being criticized, it is only human to be defensive, sir. Politics seem to make this worse sometimes. However, as we are making law for the country, Mr. Speaker, we all share the common interest to ensure the laws are as good as they can be before enactment by Parliament. It just needs understanding is why I am raising it. The committee, Mr. Speaker, would be failing in its responsibility if it were not giving careful, thorough, and oftentimes critical analysis of bills that come before it. Sir, I wish to also thank the Ministry for providing lunch on some of the days of the inquiry so that we could transact the inquiry efficiently. Because some lunch hour, we will go ahead no more. Other ministries must copy their fine example in this matter. It's an important Christian virtue. Bring lunch. Sir, in seeking to understand why this bill is necessary, it is important to first understand the purpose or why a public service bureaucracy is an indispensable and necessary part of a functional state and government. At the very basic level, Mr. Speaker, you cannot have a state without a public service bureaucracy, nor can you have a government without a public service bureaucracy. One could go further, Mr. Speaker, and say that you cannot have a country even without a public service bureaucracy. It is that basic and essential. Sir, to be deserving of the description, a country must be a state and have a government. That government, to be effective in doing things, needs a bureaucracy that will implement its policies and plans and deliver services to the citizenry of the country. The public service bureaucracy, sir, composed of non-elected specialized civil servants, is the administrative engine that translates political decisions into practical reality. The necessity of a public service bureaucracy stems from its ability to provide order, expertise, and continuity in governance. Mr. Speaker, we saw during the tensions when government, and by extension, the state, were severely weakened by the conflict, the public service bureaucracy ensured that services like health, education, and other services were still being delivered. The public service is that essential to a country. Sir, small countries such as ours really struggle with affording the cost of maintaining the bureaucracy necessary to have a functional state and government. Each time Parliament passes new laws, sir, it almost always adds to the burden of work that the bureaucracy must perform. It is either existing employees will have increased workloads or that additional staff are needed. In our current context, sir, the cost of the bureaucracy is by far the largest share of the annual budget that Parliament must appropriate so that government can function. It is to afford the cost of the bureaucracy, sir, that in the first instance taxes are levied. So it must be clear, sir, that having a public service bureaucracy is absolutely essential to maintaining a functional state and government. When we talk about government providing services to the people, it is the public service that is the primary vehicle for delivery of such services. This is why, Mr. Speaker, we must take an active interest in ensuring that this bill will provide for building a fit-for-purpose public service for Solomon Islands. Sir, it is a policy objective to always ensure that the public service bureaucracy is never, at any time, sir, bigger than it needs to be. Governments have a responsibility to ensure that the public service is efficient, which means that it is affordable for the services it is meant to provide. If the public service is undermanned, sorry about the gender biased term, but not enough people, it is highly likely service delivery will be adversely affected. If, sir, on the other hand, it is overmanned, too many people doing too few tasks, it would be very inefficient and would have some idle officers, which over time would begin to affect morale and discipline in the service. So it is vitally important, sir, that the executive government keep a very close eye on the appropriate size of the public service relative to the services that must be delivered. Of course, Mr. Speaker, there will be times, given economic circumstances, that even though the level of services to be delivered require a certain size of the public service to be maintained, but the economy and by extension the government's revenues are unlikely to afford it. In such circumstances, Mr. Speaker, government would be compelled to reduce the size of the public service even if service delivery suffers as a result. There would be other times, sir, when due to changing circumstances, the public service would need to be reoriented or restructured to make it more focused on certain policy or service delivery objectives. In our democracy, Mr. Speaker, under the Westminster system, the people elect their representatives to Parliament. Out of their number, the executive or political government is formed. The political government, of course, comes and goes. The political government provides policy leadership and gives overall direction to the country. Such policies, sir, may be legislated into law. However, the political government on its own does not implement the policies and laws. That responsibility, sir, befalls the public service. In other words, in a democracy, the people mandate their representatives to provide policy leadership, decision-making, and law-making. This ties policy decisions and law-making directly to the people's mandate. The public service, sir, is unelected and must not usurp the role of elected representatives in determining policy directions. This is why it is important ministers take their roles very seriously, sir. It is why cabinet is very, very important to our system of government. And once the policy decisions are made, Mr. Speaker, it is the public service that implements the decisions. It is not the place of politicians to be directly implementing policy decisions. Of course, you may got a CDF where you may implement direct. That's another debate for another day. This, sir, is the boundary between political leaders and the public service. Ministers must not let PSs make policy. Sir, it is an important boundary that must be respected by both for our system of government to work effectively. We have encountered, Mr. Speaker, too many instances when this boundary has been deliberately breached, and in almost all those cases, some abuse of powers occurred. In other words, when the boundary is blurred or breached, the result is almost always corruption, abuse of public powers, or such other vices. Mr. Speaker, both elected representatives and unelected public servants are trustees of the people of Solomon Islands over the powers and resources vested in them through the public offices they occupy and possess. This principle of trusteeship, Mr. Speaker, is the critical foundation to all public service. It is when individuals in public office, either elected or appointed, ignore, neglect, or disregard this principle of trusteeship that abuse and corruption occurs. So it is important that this principle of trusteeship is taught in IPAM as a core subject in its offerings on ethics, and that concrete real-life case studies from our own recent experiences, we have many of them. These case experiences are used to demonstrate the principle as applied in real-life situations and decision-making. Sir, what might be the core functions and perhaps some benefits of having a public service, one might ask, or even some characteristics that mark a good public service bureaucracy? As I have stated earlier, sir, in essence, a state or government must have a public service bureaucracy because it is the most efficient, consistent, and rational way to implement and enforce laws, manage public resources, and deliver essential services to citizens. There are, I would suggest, sir, 6 general characteristics that mark a good public service bureaucracy: implementation and administration, consistency and fairness, efficiency and continuity, a merit-based system, accountability and transparency, and responsiveness and continuous improvement. Let me tackle each one of those very briefly. Under implementation and administration, sir, and policy execution, the bureaucracy is responsible for the doing. The thinking is left to political leaders, thinking, setting policy direction. The doing is left to the bureaucracy, taking the laws and policies enacted by Parliament and the executive branch and turning them into actionable programs. Examples, of course, include running schools, managing hospitals, maintaining infrastructure, collecting taxes, and so on. Specialized expertise, sir. Bureaucrats are often career professionals and experts in their fields, finance, public health, engineering, and so on. This specialization, sir, ensures that complex policy details are handled with technical competence and professional knowledge. Tasks are clearly broken down and assigned to specialized expert officials, leading to greater competence and efficiency. Yumi, or elected Yumi, not necessarily expert law anything. We could be jack of all trade or jack of none, but in a bureaucracy, there is need for such specialized expertise. The second characteristic, sir, is consistency and fairness. Under that, rule of law, by operating under a predefined system of rules, regulations, and standardized procedures, sir, a bureaucracy ensures that similar cases are treated similarly. This reduces the risk of arbitrary decisions and helps maintain legality and order. Decisions and procedures, sir, are based on consistent written rules, ensuring predictability and uniformity in operations. Impersonality, sir. Decisions are made based on established criteria rather than personal favoritism or political connections or one-talk system or bias. Rules are applied universally without favoritism toward individuals or personalities. All citizens are treated equally under the law and standard operating procedures. Sir, this impersonality promotes fairness and helps eliminate corruption. Here, Mr. Speaker, I think we struggle with cultural obligations and the pressures of the Wantok system. We, sir, have to acknowledge that we have a particular cultural context, but we must ensure that obligations arising out of culture does not erode or compromise the trusteeship principle. Political neutrality, sir. Public officials must execute policy impartially, remaining separate from political motivations or partisan bias. I suppose, sir, this is the reason why public officials wanting to contest elections must first resign their positions. It is in everybody's interest, sir, to ensure the political neutrality of the public service. Politicians must not drag public servants into politics, and public servants must resist the temptation to be politicized. It is incumbent, sir, upon both public officers and politicians to protect the political neutrality of the public service. It is important the public service implement the policies of the day, Mr. Speaker. The public service must not assume upon itself any discretion as to whether or not government policy should or should not be implemented. It simply must implement. Further, Mr. Speaker, when being directed by a minister, a public official is duty-bound to give advice that is politically neutral, guided only by legality, ethics, and best practice. Another characteristic, sir, is efficiency and continuity, and under that, hierarchy and accountability. A clear, sir, hierarchical structure and division of labor streamline operations and define who is responsible for which decisions and tasks. This structure maximizes efficiency and allows for better coordination and control. There is a clear, fixed chain of command and control, ensuring accountability and coordination. The buck has to stop somewhere, Mr. Speaker. Someone must bear responsibility for decisions and actions taken within the structure of the public service. Organizational memory, sir. Through extensive record keeping, the bureaucracy maintains continuity and organizational memory. This allows government operations to follow precedent, learn from past experience, and function seamlessly, even as elected political leaders change. This also ensures precedence is respected and provides certainty and predictability of decision-making. The fourth characteristic, sir, is a merit-based system. Professionalism, sir. A well-functioning bureaucracy uses a merit-based system for hiring and promotion, where civil servants are selected based on qualifications and job performance rather than political patronage or one-top relationships. This commitment to professionalism, sir, is key to effective and non-partisan public service. The fifth characteristic, sir, is accountability and transparency. The administration's processes, sir, rules and decisions are open to scrutiny by oversight bodies like Parliament, by its committees, or the Ombudsman, or the Auditor General, and of course scrutiny by the public. This, sir, must not be feared, but welcomed. It is important, sir, that public officials, in exercising public offices and public powers, do so deliberately under the knowledge that their decisions, sir, and their actions are subject to oversight and regular inspection. It keeps everyone honest, Mr. Speaker. Officials are held responsible for their actions. Written records, all official acts, decisions, and rules are recorded in writing, providing a basis for continuity, audit, and legal accountability. Public officials, Mr. Speaker, must never act on verbal instructions or directives, especially from ministers or politicians. A public official who is given a verbal political directive or ministerial directive must demand that the directive be put in writing. This, Mr. Speaker, has been an area of corrupt decision-making in our system for quite some time. Rule of law, Mr. Speaker. Actions must be taken in strict accordance with the law, policies, and established good practice, respecting the rights of those concerned and recognizing that an appellate body may inquire into any matter if appealed by an aggrieved party. Sir, decision-making under the knowledge of the right of appeal is helpful in moderating such decisions and ensuring they are within the bounds of law and good practice. The sixth characteristic, sir, is responsiveness and continuous improvement. Sir, customer focus. The administration designs and delivers services with citizens' needs in mind, ensuring ease of access, clear communication, and timely, sensitive responses. Putting things right, sir. There should be clear, accessible mechanisms for addressing complaints and correcting mistakes or poor decisions. Continuous improvement, sir. That the public service actively seek to improve its efficiency, the quality of its services, and its administrative procedures by simplifying processes and utilizing up-to-date knowledge and technology. Sir, there seems to be a current fascination with the collection of personal data by various administrative bodies, application forms, arrival forms at the airport, departure forms, and so forth. Sir, public service must seek to discipline this urge for private personal data to the bare minimum needed for decision-making requirements. This fascination often merely adds to the paperwork rather than any real administrative benefit. Ethical behavior or integrity, sir. That public officials, sir, demonstrate high standards of integrity, honesty, and ethical conduct in their service. Integrity, Mr. Speaker, is who a person is when they are alone and when they're not being watched. When faced with a gray area or a silence in the law, Mr. Speaker, a person with integrity will err on the side of the spirit of the law, good precedent, because there is also bad precedent. So good precedent, good practice, common sense, and what is right. Such a person, sir, will definitely not seek personal benefit or benefit of an interested person from such a gray area decision making. Sir, as you know, favorite verse below, of Jeremiah 17, verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. This is why, sir, it is important that laws are clear and administrative mechanisms and tools are put in place to protect all who exercise public offices and powers against their own worst instincts and against the temptation from others. Mr. Speaker, for many years, we have struggled with the effectiveness of the public service. Productivity has been an ongoing challenge for many years. Performance measurement, sir, and reviews are an essential tool to ensuring accountability for any lack of effectiveness and for the low productivity. Some progress is being made on this matter, Mr. Speaker, perhaps too slowly, but I do see progress. It gives me hope, Mr. Speaker, that the potential for growth in the public service is good, and this bill provides a good legislative framework to facilitate such growth. As in all organizations, Mr. Speaker, ethical and competent leadership is essential to ensuring the public service fulfills its potential and delivers services. It is therefore important, sir, that such leadership is identified early, cultivated, nurtured, and mentored within the public service. IPAM, sir, is obviously an important tool in this endeavor, although perhaps not the only one. There is need, sir, to consider making IPAM more arm's length from the Ministry of Public Service so that it can attract and maintain the talent and resources it needs and is able to conduct research that may be useful to the public service. And it may even go beyond merely overall public service training and look into more specializations required by various specialist units within the public service. Mr. Speaker, corruption in the public service is another of the challenges to many of the principles this bill is seeking to implement. The corruption, sir, is widespread, let's admit it, and undermines the professionalism, impartiality, and effectiveness of the public service. This is also, Mr. Speaker, there is also a significant financial cost due to the corruption. Even after the enactment of the Independent Commission Against Corruption legislation and the Whistleblowers Act, sir, corruption doesn't seem to be close to being arrested. Reports by the Auditor General that document clear abuses of public finances and in many cases fraud do not seem to attract any accountability whatsoever. This surely is a terrible indictment on our bureaucracy and the administrative system. In other democracies, sir, if there is abuse in a ministry, the most senior official, and quite often including minister, would resign, accepting responsibility for the abuses occurring under their watch. We simply do not care, it seems, Mr. Speaker. This, sir, is an indictment on our public service and political culture. For the sake of Solomon Islands and for the sake of Solomon Islanders, we must do better. We must make every effort to be better. Sir, the trust of the people in their government is affected by the trust they have in the public service to deliver services in a timely and cost-effective manner. When the people see services delivered are of poor quality, yet see officials living beyond their means, it erodes their trust in government. When tenders are rigged or decision-making is prejudiced because of inducements, public trust is further eroded. It is in everyone's interest, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the people's trust in their government is protected and advanced. Sir, the bill on its own will not overcome all of these challenges, obviously, but the bill goes some way to ensuring that these challenges can be met. Other legislation that is targeted at these issues must be made more effective and implemented to complement the proposals in this bill. Sir, members will be well advised to read the Bills Committee report to help in their understanding of the objects of the bill and to determine whether the clauses deliver on those worthy objects. Let me conclude, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I suppose what I have labored to say is, in essence, a good public service bureaucracy will aim to achieve the technical efficiency of a rules-based structure while being responsive, ethical, and accountable to the democratic and social values it is meant to serve. As we consider this bill, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we look to see if it provides for these characteristics in our public service. I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition. Thank you, Honourable MP for Western Georgia and Wonawona. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for recognizing me to take the floor. And also, good morning to everyone in this honourable House, and also those who are listening elsewhere. I rise with gratitude for the opportunity to speak to this House on the Public Service Bill 2025. I wish first to acknowledge the Honourable Minister for Public Service and his officials for finally bringing this bill before Parliament. A bill long awaited, much discussed and deeply needed. Mr. Speaker, this is no ordinary legislation. It is the culmination of over a decade of reflection, drafting and reform effort. Yet it arrives in this chamber not as a mere administrative measure, but as a moral test, a test of whether we, as leaders and servants of our people, are ready to renew the conscience of governance in our land. For it is not the words of this bill that will shape our nation, but the spirit with which we live them. Mr. Speaker, the intention of this bill is noble. It seeks to modernize our public administration, to restore integrity and efficiency, and to align our services with the values of merit, transparency, and accountability. In short, it aims to build a public service worthy of the trust of our people. But reform, Mr. Speaker, is not achieved by the ink of legislation alone. It is achieved when law and conscience meet in harmony, when the rules written on paper are lived out in principle. We have written many laws in this country, yet too often their powers have stopped at page. The Public Service Bill must not become one more addition to that pile. It must be a living law, one that breathes through the conduct of our public servants and the commitment of our leaders. The purpose of this bill, therefore, is not only administrative. It is moral, and it calls upon us to remember that governance is not a privilege of the few, but a sacred for the many. It calls upon us to reawaken a service that has grown weary, to rekindle a spirit that has grown dull, and to restore faith where faith has been lost. Mr. Speaker, as I read this bill, I hear in its pages a quiet plea for leadership, for responsibility, and for the return of honor to the machinery of government. Mr. Speaker, let me speak plainly. Our public service is in crisis. Not a crisis of numbers or knowledge, but a crisis of spirit. It suffers from what I call bureaucratic inertia, that quiet creeping paralysis that resists change and rewards complacency. It is a disease that wears the mask of order but hides decay underneath. It is seen in offices where files lie untouched, where decisions are postponed until they fade into irrelevance, where innovation is treated at risk, and where silence is safer than service. This inertia is not the fault of individuals alone. It is the inheritance of a system
that has lost its moral compass. It is a system that has too far long rewarded attendance instead of output, obedience instead of initiative, and connections instead of competency. Mr. Speaker said, we cannot reform what we tolerate. We cannot modernize what we excuse. The time has come to break the spell of inertia and to demand movement towards performance, movement towards excellence, and movement towards accountability. Let this bill be that movement. Let it draw a line between what we have been and what we must become. Let it declare that public service is not employment, but stewardship. Not a job, but a calling. Mr. Speaker said, every reform begins with leadership. We may build systems and write policies, but without ethical leadership, these are like ships without captain. Leadership in the public service must be moral before it is managerial. It must be rooted in humility, guided by duty, and sustained by vision. The late Solomon Manwalan once said, public office is a public trust. That phrase must echo again in these halls, for it captures the heart of true governance. A public officer does not hold power. He holds responsibility. He does not command privilege. He carries burden. Mr. Speaker, the true leader in the public service is not the one who controls order, but the one who empowers them, not the one who seeks glory, but the one who seeks good. Public service must rediscover that ethic of servant leadership, leadership that listens, that cares, that sacrifices, and that leads by example. For the character of the nation is reflected in the character of those who serve it. When leaders act with integrity, the people regain hope. When leaders serve with humility, institutions regain honor. Mr. Speaker said, leadership is not about having the loudest voice. It is about having the clearest conscience. Mr. Speaker, as members are aware, the Bills and Legislation Committee undertook a thorough inquiry into this bill. The committee findings were both illuminating and concerning. They reveal not only gaps in the draft, but weaknesses in our institutional architecture that go far beyond this single law. Allow me to summarize several key matters that must guide our consideration. The bill in its ambition risks legislating too much. It attempts to codify administrative details that are better left to general orders or regulations. Human resources management, by its nature, evolves with time. To freeze it in law is to suffocate its flexibility. We must legislate principles, not procedures. Laws must give directions, not dictation. As it stands, the bill may become a straitjacket when what we need is a compass. There remains confusion over who is the employer, the government, the Public Service Commission, or the ministry. Such ambiguity breeds inconsistency and weakens accountability. The law must speak plainly. The government of Solomon Islands, acting through the PSC, is the employer. When responsibility is clear, accountability follows. When it is blurred, blames become the refuge of failure. Mr. Speaker, the committee found that the PSC, though constituting institutionally independent remains financially and administratively dependent on the Ministry of Public Service. This dependency is dangerous. Oversight cannot thrive when it is nourished by those it must oversee. If we are serious about integrity, the PSC must stand on its own feet with its own staff, budget, and authority. The independence of the PSC is not a bureaucratic matter. It is the shield of meritocracy itself. The committee also found the disciplinary mechanisms are inconsistent and painfully slow. Some cases of misconduct take years to resolve, while officers remain on full pay. This is unacceptable. The bill must set clear timelines, require transparency in outcomes, and link disciplinary performance to institutional reviews. Without consequences, wrongdoing multiplies. Without fairness, good officers lose faith. The code of conduct should be the moral compass of public service. Yet today, it exists more in aspiration than in enforcement. It must differentiate between major and minor offences, ensure proportionality in penalties, and protect whistleblowers. Mr. Speaker, a code unenforced is a creed without conviction. The code must live not in documents, but in daily duty. Finally, the committee found audit findings are seldom acted upon. Ministry treat them as contemporary, not command. The bill must mandate response and follow-up. Accountability is not optional. It is the spine of trust. Let us make audit action a legal duty, not a discretionary courtesy. Mr. Speaker said, allow me to highlight certain clauses that merit refinement. Clause 5, 12, and 13, the bill claims to prevail over the laws, risking conflict with the police, corrections, and SOE Acts. Insert the phrase, except where another act expressly provides otherwise. Clause 12, clarify that the bill does not erode the operational independence of disciplined forces as protected by our Constitution. Clause 42, performance review for permanent secretaries should be conducted by integrity institution, PSC, Auditor General, Ombudsman, not political offices. Clause 27, 92 to 96, extend grievances reporting periods to 90 days. Justice delayed is injustice compounded. Clauses 55 and 29 empower digital governance and e-administration. The future of the public service must be electronic, efficient, and ethical. Mr. Speaker, a good law is like a well-built cannon, strong, balanced, and guided by both tradition and tide. Mr. Speaker, the bill remains silent on decentralization, yet it is in the provinces where the public service is truly tested. The nurse in Star Harbor, the teacher in Utupua, the agriculture officer in Imunda. These are unsung heroes of the nation. They served not for glory, but out of love for their people. Their devotion deserves not only gratitude, but recognition. We must design a system that rewards service in hardship, that uplifts those in remote posts, and that builds capacity beyond Honiara. Let the bill provide pathways for provincial HR structures under the PSC framework, ensuring that local realities are met with local authority. Mr. Speaker, decentralization is not merely administrative, it is moral. It embodies a belief that wisdom and dignity dwell not only in the capital, but in every village, every hill, and every island of our beloved nation. To decentralize is to democratize service. It is to bring government from the hill to the home. Mr. Speaker, our governance does not float above our culture. It is anchored within. Before Parliament and ministries, our ancestors had their councils, their chiefs, and their customs. They governed with wisdom drawn from the land and tempered by the respect for community. If this bill seeks to rebuild integrity in our service, it must not ignore this moral heritage. Custom is not an obstacle to good governance. It is its foundation. Chiefs and elders can play vital roles in reinforcing ethics among public servants. They can guide, mandate, and mentor. By blending custom with law, we breathe humanity into bureaucracy. A nation that forgets its moral roots loses its compass. A public service that listens to its culture will never lose its way. Mr. Speaker said, political neutrality is the oxygen of professionalism. Without it, the service suffocates. Appointments must be made on merit, not favor. Promotions must be earned by performance, not connections. When the public service becomes a tool of politics, the nation becomes hostage to power rather than principle. The bill merits principle must therefore be enforced through transparency. The PSC should publish annual reports outlining how appointments and promotions adhere to merit criteria. Mr. Speaker, neutrality does not mean disloyal to government. It means loyalty to the Constitution, to the state, and to the people. It ensures continuity, stability, and fairness. Let us guard it jealously. For once lost, it is difficult to restore. Mr. Speaker, passing this bill will be an important step, but its success will depend entirely on implementation. Reform without capacity is illusion. The Institute of Public Administration and Management must be revitalized and resourced. Every public service, from clerk to permanent secretary, should undergo continuous training. Ethics and performance must become habits and not exceptions. Implementation must also be phased, realistic, and transparent. Let us require annual progress reports to this Parliament. Let us measure not intentions, but impact. Mr. Speaker, we must never mistake activity for achievement. Reform must deliver results that can be seen, felt, and measured by the people. Reform, Mr. Speaker, is not about replacement. It is about renewal. It is not about tearing down what exists, but about breathing life into what has grown stagnant. The Public Service Bill 2025 gives us the chance to renew the covenant between government and people. It reminds every officer and service that service is not self-interest. It is self-giving. That the true measure of success is not the size of one's office, but the sincerity of one's contribution. We must, therefore, approach this reform not as administrators, but as moral stewards, charged with the care of national integrity. Mr. Speaker said, we may not be able to legislate virtue, but we can legislate structures and encourage it. And in doing so, we give virtue the space to grow. Mr. Speaker said this bill must be more an instrument of order. It must be a vessel of renewal. Let it be a living law, one that breathes with the rhythm of a people's struggle and dreams. When a nurse walks miles to deliver medicine, when a teacher stays late to prepare lessons by candlelight, when a fisheries officer rows against tide to gather data. These are acts of service that embody the soul of this nation. The law must honor them. Let us create a public service that rewards excellence, that punishes indifference, that honors humility, and that inspires devotion. Let this bill also remind us that governance is not the act of control, but the act of care. The servant who performs his duty with diligence contributes more to nation building than an officer who speaks with authority but acts with apathy. Mr. Speaker, people deserve a government that is visible not only in its building, but in its benevolence. Mr. Speaker, I draw to a close. Let me say this. History will not remember us for how many laws we passed, but for how deeply we served. The Public Service Bill 2025 gives us an opportunity to restore the moral center of governance, to remind every public officer that to serve is to love, and to love is to sacrifice. It is written in the Gospel that to whom much is given, much is required. We, who are entrusted with the authority of the state, must remember that every decision we make echoes through the lives of those who have little. This bill is truly implemented, if truly implemented, can be the bridge between bureaucracy and humanity. It can turn offices into instruments of hope and officials into servants of justice. Let us therefore rise above politics and bipartisanship. Let us pass a law not for the convenience of the government, but for the conscience of the nation. Mr. Speaker, may this bill mark the dawn of a new covenant between the government and its people, between law and morality, between power and principle. Let us ensure that every public officer, from the capital to the coast, knows that service is sacred. With this reflection, Mr. Speaker, I humbly and wholeheartedly support the principles and merits of the Public Service Bill 2025, urging its refinement, its enforcement, and its fulfillment as a living embodiment of our nation's highest ideals. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Munka. Let me give the floor firstly to the Minister for Health and Medical Service, and I'll come back to the other side. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, and I thank my colleague MP for East Malite and the Leader of Independent for giving me this opportunity to make a brief remarks in this support of the bill, of the Service Bill 2025. First, allow me, Mr. Speaker, to commend the Ministry of Public Service for the tireless effort in the initial presentation for the policy document that informed the drafting of the bill. My sincere acknowledgement to the leadership of the Minister of the Public Service, MP for Northwest Guadalcanal, for his hard work, and also his permanent secretary and his senior executive, and of course the management team for leading the process up until to date. Secondly, my sincerest gratitude to the legal drafter of the bill for going through the details in drafting this bill. With stretched capacity, Mr. Speaker, and the scarce resources, I must applaud them all for what they did, and my appreciation to them on behalf of my ministry for their commitment and dedication. Mr. Speaker, thirdly, my sincere appreciation to the Bill and Legislation Committee under the leadership of the MP for West Ariare, for taking time to coordinate the ministerial inquiries, for scrutinizing the bill, coming up with the 67 recommendations. Their hearing, Mr. Speaker, Hemno Isiwakaya. You have done your job well, and my sincere acknowledgement to the BLC team. Mr. Speaker, for the Ministry of Health, I want to air that the WHO estimates a project shortfall of 11 million health workers by 2030, mostly in low and lower middle income countries that includes Solomon Islands. The crisis in human resource, Mr. Speaker, and particularly in the health sector, has been described as one of the most pressing global issues of our time. A global undersupply of these threatens the quality and the sustainability of health system in our region, and particularly in the Pacific, and of course on the global space. Shortfalls of health workers in Solomon Islands, Mr. Speaker, is of no exemption. Mr. Speaker, these shortages continue to undermine access to and provisions of health services, particularly in the primary care setting, hard to reach and remote location. This is the most critical challenge to achieving our universal health coverage. Mr. Speaker, without the availability of a competent and appropriate skilled health workforce, adequate numbers and that is being distributed to us, many will struggle to access and get the health services that we need across Solomon Islands. Most health budgets, Mr. Speaker, are getting constrained, and this certainly puts a lot of pressure on the whole health ecosystem and ultimately on our health services. Mr. Speaker, my ministry has a total of 2,505 official established staff consisting of 251 doctors, 1,553 nurses, 602 allied health, and 128 support service staff. Big team here, Mr. Speaker. Our health workers ratio to population is still very low as compared with our regional countries in the Pacific. For instance, our doctor population ratio stands at 3 per 10,000 population, and at nurse population ratio, which is estimated to 22.1 per 10,000 people. Staff movement, Mr. Speaker, towards urban areas has resulted in significant health staff shortages in rural areas and in overstaffing in Honiara. The decline of rural staff housing and poor health facilities infrastructure has exacerbated this trend, leaving some of our provincial health facilities understaffed or closed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, deploying and retaining a motivated and quality workforce in place where they are needed, adding to it as the population grows, among our greatest challenges, Mr. Speaker. And I do sincerely hope that this bill will address some of these challenges that I have just mentioned, Mr. Speaker. The chronic underinvestment in education and in training of health workers, of course, particularly as well in our country, causing to these disparities, and especially in getting our health workforce in rural and remote areas. The current human resource issues are not only issues of my ministry, Mr. Speaker, but I'm sure the issues are relevant to other social sector ministries. As per my observation, Mr. Speaker, this is constrained by two major obstacles, forming bottlenecks to effectively deploy our health workforce to our health facilities in the rural remote areas where health services are needed most. The first is the uncontrolled drift of staff away from the provinces into the urban areas. In our cases at the National Referral Hospital, resulting in overstaffing and inefficiency and high cost and underserving in the provinces. So, Mr. Speaker, I do hope that this bill will really address increasing gomo of the allowances for the low provinces or the health workforce low provinces. I know that I have read some of the allowances on contribution in answering the questions, but this bill, Mr. Speaker, me sincerely hope that we could put more retention packages to the provincial health centres below me. Mr. Speaker, the environment upon which my health workers are deployed to, particularly to the provinces, must be favourable and conducive, meaning that other services, also motor market, banking facilities, schools and shipping, and HEM must also be available and accessible as well, Mr. Speaker. With the absence of these critical but essential services, such can discourage and demotivate my health workers to be posted to our rural and remote areas. The second is the limit and the deterioration of rural housing infrastructure, making it difficult to post our staff to the provinces and adding the bottleneck at the urban health facilities, including the National Referral Hospital. It is imperative, Mr. Speaker, that these two obstacles are addressed through the appropriate regulation of the bill once enacted and commenced for implementation. My colleague, you must put to this one regulation bill that can be very attractive to my health workers for Hotasave Golo provinces below Yumi. The staffing bottleneck of the urban drift could be addressed in the immediate to short term, while rural housing, Mr. Speaker, can be addressed. On that note, I would like to thank some of my colleagues that use the CDF to increase the health services, Mr. Speaker, and of course, him also encourage him to, or the health workforce, for start by. One is the member for Lau Balelia, where him barawa meet him now on ambulance below him. These, Mr. Speaker, are enhancing the services that we need in the rural areas. So, MP Lau Balelia, thank you for using your RCDF or CDF to enhance the health services that people below you need him in the remote areas. Also, me like for acknowledging the MP for Central Honera and the chairman of the PAC for also using CDF for meeting over the logistics support, especially the buses that also increase the health services. These are things, initiatives that we as MPs could also contribute for enhancing now health services. Of course, also empowering over the health workforce or health workforce below me, or the respective constituencies below you me. Me also look forward, Mr. Speaker, that my colleague members, including myself, to follow suit, follow these two MPs that me highlight him, and of course a member for Northwest too, me also asking MID for supporting him for the track that me give him for the team Logi province. Mr. Speaker, addressing this issue that I have highlighted and the bottlenecks will help ensure the bill is implemented effectively, supports fiscal responsibility and safeguard the integrity and sustainability of the health workforce in our country. Let me take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, for thanking now over the health workforce or health workers below you me that are being serving with dignity and integrity across Solomon Islands for their duty to call and the passion to serve in the space of humanity. Mr. Speaker, healthcare is a fundamental human right, but without health workers, there cannot be a health service. So me, but I support him now, this for the health service bill. And I do hope that it will also encourage our health workers. I have forgo doing too, or the training lones, because sometimes go this time several people no like willing to for go doing nursing studies will say he hard work too much but pay him low, and there are people now resigning and ventured into other areas of life. Mr. Speaker, with that said, the Ministry stands ready to work closely with the Ministry of Public Service as the custodian of the Public Service Bill to ensure that the legislation is both practical and responsive to the needs of my health workforce under the Public Service Bill. May this bill, Mr. Speaker, save Solomon Islands from soul to soul. God bless Solomon Islands. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the motion. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister for Health and Medical Services. Let me give the floor to Honourable MP for East Malaita and leader of the Independent Group.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By me, 5 minutes now. Come lunch. But first, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank you, Minister of the Public Service. Thank you very much for your bill. I would like to also thank your PS and your staff for putting this bill together. Also, not forgetting Chairman of the Bills Committee and the committee for scrutinizing the bill. Say at the outset, I acknowledge that this bill represents an important milestone in the effort to modernize our public administration. The Public Service Act that has guided us since independence has become outdated and in many respects no longer fits the realities of our governance needs today. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I commend the government for bringing this reform forward. It is necessary, it is timely, and it aligns with our broader aspirations for an efficient professionalism and accountable public service. However, Mr. Speaker, as leader of the Independent Group, I wish to raise a number of observations and concerns, not to oppose the bill, but to ensure that it delivers what our people truly expect. A public service that saves the nation, not politics, a service that delivers results, not excuses. First, Mr. Speaker, on political neutrality. The independence and professionalism of the public service must remain as a sacred principle. Too often, public officers are caught between political interests and their duty to the state. This bill must therefore guarantee that appointments, promotions, and disciplinary processes are based strictly on merit, not on political or personal favor. If we fail to safeguard neutrality, we risk turning our service into a political extension of the government of the day, and that would be a serious setback. Second, Mr. Speaker, on accountability and performance. While the bill introduced mechanism for performance management, we must ensure that these are realistic, transparent, and fairly applied. Accountability must begin at the top with permanent secretaries and heads of departments. The public service cannot be transformed if leadership itself is not held to account for poor performance, delays, or misuse of public funds. Mr. Speaker, third, on decentralization and inclusivity. Mr. Speaker, the bill should better reflect the need for decentralized service delivery. Our provinces and rural communities continue to experience slow bureaucratic processes. A modern Public Service Act must empower provincial office, improve conditions and strengthen local level decision making so that government services reach the people, not just remain in Honiara. Fourth, on capacity and implementation, Mr. Speaker, reform on paper is one thing, implementation is another. This bill is ambitious, but we must ensure that our ministries have the capacity, resources, and training to implement its provisions effectively. Otherwise, we risk having a good law that achieves little in practice, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, this bill must be about restoring trust between the public and their government, between officers and their leaders, and between policy and delivery. The Solomon Islands people deserve a public service that is not only efficient, but also ethical, transparent, and people-centered. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the Independent Group supports the intention of the Public Service Bill 2025, but we call for strong safeguards to ensure neutrality, accountability, and implementation capacity. Only then will this reform move from being just another law to become a real instrument of national transformation. Before I end, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank all public service who are working below every ministry below Mijislafu. Thank you, Mogota, for their hard work and the implementations of government policies. With that short remark, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill and I resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Member for East Malaita and the Independent. Any other members who wish to contribute? Let me recognize the Honourable Minister for Police and National Security and Correctional Services. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise to contribute in strong support of the Public Service Bill 2025, tabled by the Honourable Minister of the Public Service. On that note, I would like to also extend my word of thanks to those who have contributed to full realization of the completion and, of course, tabling of this bill, which I am hopeful will be passed soon as well. This bill, Mr. Speaker, is both timely and relevant. A bold and visionary step for our nation at the time when our security environment, public expectation and governance demand continue to evolve. It is a bill that lays the foundation for a modern, high-performing and value-driven public service, one that is essential for maintaining law, order, stability and peace in Solomon Islands. Mr. Speaker, as Minister responsible for police, national security and correctional services, I view this bill through the lens of discipline, professionalism and national security resilience. The police and correctional services, as part of our disciplined forces, rely heavily on an effective, accountable and ethical public service to function efficiently. Therefore, I welcome this legislative reform that aims to modernize how our public service is managed, developed and governed. Part one, I would like to comment first on part one and part two that captures the preliminary matters and interpretation. Mr. Speaker, the clarity provided in the preliminary and interpretation sections sets a strong legal foundation. In the realm of security and policing, clarity of definitions and scope prevents confusion, enhances coordination across ministries, and ensures that all public officers understand their boundaries and duties. A clearly defined law ensures consistency, predictability, and fairness in the public administration system, critical ingredients for national security and stability. Part 3, which is the scope of application. This part ensures that the Act applies fairly and comprehensively across the public service. From a policing and national security standpoint, this uniformity of standards supports interagency coordination and institutional cohesion, key elements in our security architecture. A modern public service should function as a single cohesive machinery of government where the Ministry of Police, Correctional Services, and other agencies can align in policy implementation and seamless delivery. Part 4 captures the principles, values, and codes of conduct under section 16 to 24. Mr. Speaker, I wish to particularly emphasize this part, as it resonates deeply with the values of our disciplined services. The principles and codes of conduct articulated in the bill, integrity, impartiality, accountability, respect, loyalty, and service to the people, mirror the same principle enshrined in the ethos of policing and corrections. For us in the security and correctional sector, discipline, integrity, and service to the people are non-negotiable. Embedding these values across the wider public service strengthens our collective capacity to uphold public confidence, national unity, and peace. When public servants conduct themselves ethically, uphold the rule of law, and maintain professionalism, they contribute directly to national stability, sir. A disciplined, value-based public service underpins good governance, and good governance in turn underpins national security. Part 5, roles, responsibilities, and functions. Sir, this part provides clear delineation of duties between the Minister, the Public Service Commission, permanent secretaries, and responsible officers. From a security governance perspective, clarity in roles prevents duplication, confusion, and bureaucratic conflict, factors that often weaken state effectiveness. Such clarity ensures a coordinated whole-of-government approach, especially in addressing cross-cutting security issues such as border management, cybercrime, transnational threats, and corrections reform. A professional, well-coordinated public service is the invisible force that sustains law and order. Part 6, that captures employment and management. Sir, this part is crucial to ensuring merit-based recruitment and management. In the disciplined forces, we know the importance of recruiting on merit, promoting on performance, and managing based on accountability. The same principle must apply across the entire public service. And that's exactly what this bill for. When we build a public service culture founded on fairness, competence, and professionalism, we are building the foundation for a secure and peaceful Solomon Islands, where corruption and nepotism give way to merit, integrity, and service excellence. Part 7, that captures workforce development and training. Sir, this is one of the most forward-looking parts of the bill. A professional and well-trained workforce is essential for the efficient delivery of government services, and by extension, for national security and peace.
For the police and correctional services, training and continuous development are central to professionalism. This ensures that our workforce keep pace with changing times, including digital transformation, policy reform, and modern governance practices. A trained and competent public service strengthens resilience, improves service delivery, and reduces vulnerabilities that can lead to instability. In Part 8, that captures the employee conduct, the provisions on this employee conduct align with the disciplinary codes familiar to police and correctional officers. Upholding conduct standards and enforcing discipline are essential to public trust. When every public servant embodies ethical behavior, the government gains legitimacy and citizens gain confidence in their institutions, which is fundamental to peace and order. Part 9 to 11, where it captures other employment grievances and employment relations. In these sections, they are about fairness, justice, and process, ensuring that the rights of public servants are protected while maintaining accountability. This promotes moral motivation and a sense of security among our workforce. In a national security context, fairness in employment and grievance processes helps maintain institutional stability and cohesion, preventing discontent that can disrupt service delivery. In Part 12, where we have offenses and penalties, strong accountability provisions ensures that misconduct is dealt with firmly and fairly. This is important not just for deterrence, but for building a culture of honesty and responsibility in the public service. The police and correctional services rely on integrity across all levels of government. When one part of the system fails, it affects the security of the whole. In Part 13, where miscellaneous matters, and Part 14, repeal and transitional provisions, these parts are vital to ensure smooth implementation and transition to the new system. Institutional reform is not easy, but it is necessary. We must modernize our governance system to meet contemporary challenges. So, as we approach the 50th anniversary of our beloved country's independence, this bill is a timely reflection of our collective aspiration to build a modern, effective, and accountable public service that is uniquely Solomon Islands in character, yet globally competent in standard. Mr. Speaker, in the sphere of national security, law and order and corrections, stability and progress depend on the strength of our public institutions. The Public Service Bill 2025 is a vital instrument to strengthen those institutions, ensuring that our government machinery is efficient, disciplined, and service-oriented. As a government, we are building the foundation for sustainable peace and economic growth. Before social services and economic development can thrive, law, order, and institutional governance must first be strong. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I fully support this bill. It is a modern and homegrown legislative framework that will shape the public service we need for the next 50 years. A service that is professional, accountable, and deeply committed to the people and the peace of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support this bill and resume my seat.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Any other members who wish to speak or contribute to the debate? Let me give the floor to the Honourable MP for Central Honiara. Have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Give me a little bit of time no for me to speak a little bit for this bill. First of all, I want to thank Tawia, Minister of Public Service, for bringing this bill. Him and his staff for the hard work that they put in finalizing this bill, conducting all the consultations that are required to bring this bill to this House. So I think the last time that we had the public service legislation introduced to our legislature was around 1988. And it was also another Tawia too. The former Prime Minister at that time, Ezekiel Alibua, I think, who brought that bill. And now another Tawia too. Congratulations, Tawia, for doing that, making an attempt to come up with the needed reform that we need to have in shaping the legislative framework in the making of our public service when speaking about the public service and the public service bureaucracy, it reminds me of some of the literatures that most students in the field, law, humanity, always read about, and in particular some of the thinking that came out from leading thinkers in this area, the likes of Max Weber, a very famous sociologist who have, during those times, think about and came up with, theorized the models of bureaucracy in the field of academia. He came up with, this model of Weberian bureaucracy. Me, thinking around him, no this one when I drove down, Chisola Bill Bemi or Lemi, but in Bebrek about too. Haven't been reading so much about it, but I was thinking about that, this Weberian bureaucracy. And I was reflecting on the times, when some of us, including yourself too, sir, when we first entered the public service, we were introduced to this very hierarchical kind of a command system of bureaucracy, rules-based bureaucracy, where everything is guided by orders, regulations, emotion. We were all trained in the new field of administrative cadre in those days. And I remember walking up these places too here, gardens of tapioca, cassava field. Not as in cassava, believe Minister of Health, Antaplo, but up this way, up this hill, up to the school here, the administrative training center at that time. Most times, people hungry too here, walk up this hill here. Pogo Kamlod Shela School here, administrative training school, just up here. The names that they may occur at that time, people like Salas Chekana, Iupaia, and all these people who were, teaching us during those times on the administrative code. But, these are just a reflection on the way that, we came about in the first, era of, or decade of independence in building up the public service in this country. That, we have to develop it through, some, hard, programs of training, to try for, building up now bureaucracy, the public service bureaucracy. So, we were all trained in this field where the public service bureaucracy that we have is a rules-based. It's a command system, hierarchical, where apolitical too. You must be indifferent from politics, emotion. You shouldn't be personalizing too, in president, emotion. That's the kind of culture in the public service that we were all trained about, in those days. And then over the years, I think, those kind of a value slowly, eroded now to what we have seen today. So, it reminds me, Lord Chamberlain writings that, these people, Max Weber, wrote about, that Weberian democracy or bureaucracy, where everything, has to be guided by rules, where you have to follow. And I remember in those times, when you receive requests, it goes through a registry system and then it follows the chain, go up. And follow the chain, go up now. Go slowly, those chain of command go up, somehow there are bottlenecks too. Instead of go up, go stay low than normal, or certain levels here. So the efficiency that we were all looking for in the bureaucracy in those times, somehow slowly, over the years, go different now. So instead of it producing an efficient outcome, it becomes so inefficient now. So when people come and then ask question, what happened to the submission that may give him come? But say, oh, wait, those from the top haven't given the decision yet. Lovenem go stuck, somebody around Love, and then go and take him years now. Say, that's the kind of journey that we have come through with public service. And somehow, that whole value and the culture that we were all trying to develop and construct him, out of our public service, but I lose him now, lost track now. Lost track. And then him really affect him too, feel like, the very essential services like the Minister of Health. Today, me heard him now, speech blur him here, talking about, why, how this bill is going to really improve now the outcome of the Minister of Health. Hey, me bara happy to masi. I mean, we need to have, people like that, having that foresight, to make some good improvement out of the kind of reform that we are going to have right now. But just coming back to, that kind of rules-based kind of a situation here where, we think that, efficient outcome will come out, somehow have not come out too. So there seems to be a shift to understanding along organizational management. Out from a rules-based, then came this kind of a concept that, managers must manage emotion. Let managers manage. So there is an intrusion of new ideas and theories coming into the kind of bureaucracy that you may try for developing too. I remember that, some 20 years, just after independence, you were also part of the government that, we had to reform the public service. But we didn't quite reform the core value of the public service. Instead, you look at the size no more. What more? You change the size, I think something might improve, some improvement will come about. We didn't quite really look into the values. What are the principles that guide him now, the way that the kind of public service that we wanted to have, also, yeah? So these are the new thinkings that have come about. But I think in the field of humanity, where we speak about state, society, and so forth, these are the kind of things that we must welcome. Because circumstances may change, situation may change. So therefore, changes must happen too. So these new ideas start to come in, emotion, or they emerge. Shifting in the way that, traditionally, that we organize these state institutions. And just coming back to the whole understanding why public service? I mean, if you look at Chapter 13 of the Constitution, it defines the whole organs belong state institution, country belong. Almost everything that inside of that. Chapter 13 of our Constitution speaks about the public service. All of them are in there, bundled together in that particular provision law, Constitution, MOC. And it shows that every state jurisdiction, we must have an effective, well-functioning public service. It is right in the state center of state institutions of any country, MOC. And we might all, reflect back on some of the writings below. A lot of people who explore why nations fail. Why not nations fail? There are writers, in the 90s, I think, there are some people who commonly, quoted, some of these writings and literatures. Archimonglo and Robinson, wrote about why nations fail, exploring about the situation of Mexico and the United States, looking at all the factors, why would nations fail? Geography, culture, the economy, and everything. But I think in the final analysis, they labored so hard and then come up with an understanding that, why nations fail is simply because state institutions have failed. And what represents state institutions? Public service. If the public service fail, nations to fail too. If government machineries fail, nations fall down too. If public finance fail, nations by economy go down too. So say I really welcome this bill because it focuses on one of the core issues that we need to address in political accountability. State institutions, government machineries, we have allowed them to fail, and that's why you may fail too. When institutions are allowed not to respect him now, the laws below public finance go down too. And what not happen? Country go down too. That's why I really welcome this reform. Mr. Speaker, Prime Minister, I really want to thank you, for really pushing Tawia Lomea for him, come up with this bill. We really need these changes. I'm speaking from my heart. I mean, not speak from anything because you say no more. What paper we make a come and break all about the Minister of Health. His last time he told a story go. That's why me grab him wrong every paper and break all about. I must say, yeah. So say, don't forget that. I think that is really in the core of this reform that we are putting together. Let us protect him now, this very, very government machinery, the state institutions that look accountable you me. Because if you spoil them, country bagundone. And it has other ramifications inside along the way that you manage state affairs, believe me too. Others have read some raised some very, very important point, pointing us to some important principles as to why this reform is so important. Very good, excellent. But I just want to speak, out from my heart no more. What now this reform representing? For me, and to get that message right to our people, listening out there. That's why in clause 3A, where we are seeking to provide an independent, high-performing public service that delivers service to the government and the public in a responsive way. So when I contrast that, with what we have in the past and what we try to practice and develop as a culture of public service, believe me come for realizing, Truman. This was a rule-oriented kind of a public service that we have at that time. Somehow, it started off very well, but then go. Somehow bottleneck can become more. It is so rigid. That rigidity now people were complaining about.
But then when they come to the system itself and ask him, why now our request or our submission have not been responded to? Him saying, oh wait, Ottoman law on top no, the now him commit responsible. Files have to be put together and go up, go to the next level, go finally him go kasem lo top. By the time him come down, him 3 months now. Or sometimes him 6 months. Initially, very efficient, emotion. But then slowly, those efficiency have eroded now, emotion. Or the man way along the line here, but like for some power blow that 2 years, emotion. Time come kasem blow or the whole him stop or the file here, whole him stop. Why, oh, let me think about it for a little bit of time and then I'll give it to the one on top, emotion. That's the kind of public service that we have started off with here, Mr. Speaker. You know that very well. You were a well-trained, public service in this particular field, in our own field. And you know that when I social, let me go, you may one emotion. Sometimes when people come, you are okay, oh no, file him, go, kasem lo on top of him, come down there. That's this rule-based kind of public service that we have during those times. So him creating the rigidity, no flexibility now, emotion. Samvala oche, say you get ma otmane want to bloom no more. But that's exactly what that system is all about. Emotion. It is apolitical. Emotion. Shouldn't be. It should be impersonate. Whoever we want to play alongside law, outside law, it doesn't matter whether you must differentiate yourself. You must be indifferent from that particular aspect. Blow human society, blow you me emotion. Say. But now you may start for looking that it is also affecting now performance of public service, blow you me. So we have to move on. We have to change emotion. That's why this new concept of organizational management has started to creep in emotion. And one of the ones that come out so aggressively during the time that we were having some problem and with the externalities that you may face him, that may affect him now, the growing country blow economy, and even the system within our own self too. Our state institutions, this new concept start to come in. The new concept of management in organization and creeping. And that's when we started to have, let managers manage emotion. Give more responsibilities to managers so that they can manage emotion. So these are the kind of challenges that we are faced with, emotion. Because we have to live with the reality, contrast it with what has happened in the past, and then look at, what are the options for you to make improvements going forward into the future, emotion. Let managers manage emotion. And you remember during those times, Mr. Speaker, that, we were trying to give managers for manage. We were contracting at the top managers within the public service. So that they can focus on what they can deliver in a particular year, emotion. They can deliver in a particular year. Share. It's a good concept, but I think we now know why it didn't work too. Because when you allow managers to manage, you must give him bound for whatever manage too. Give him resources for whatever manage. You just say no more, you go and manage. You have all the discretion and the power for you to manage a particular organization, but time you give him go bound. What number him happen to him? She done nothing to it. Emotion. So the economy of how we can make state institutions work is also another aspect, dynamics that we have to think about. Emotion. And I hope that the economy of how we have come about and going forward into the future will not affect the kind of reform that we are expecting in this legislation. Emotion. But in terms of the ideals and the values, the purpose and the objective of what and the kind of public service that we want to see going forward, I totally agree here. And me, like I know the way that it is worded in A of clause 3, we have to provide an independent, high-performing public service that delivers services to the government and the public in a responsive and effective manner. And all of these are all delivered on some of the very important principles along Part 4 below the bill. And I don't want to go through it, but I totally agree with those principles and values along Part 4 here. These are something that we must continue to remind our public service. That shapes the culture within the public service. These are the principles or the values that I'm shaping my public service. The public service culture, emotion. You've got to have values to develop a kind of a social construct here, emotion. If you don't have principles and values that you put together and believe in them, you can't have a complete social construct here, emotion. So, I do hope, sir, that we will continue to remind this to our public servants, to these very, very unique organizations that we have. How we are going to do it? It has to be in the way that we inducting those that comes into the public service through institutions or even within their service emotion. Our leaders in the service must continue to urge those in the public service of these principles. So, if you may lose track of it, Baba Sem normal first 10 years here, that they were performing very well, and in the next 10 years of that, then the kind of bureaucracy that we have in principles and values that we may adopt in here, have got but lost now, emotion. It derails and bara disappear now. Another interest now him coming to emotion. Say. And I totally agree with all other sentiments and values where everyone Talem Law morning today. I like the way that West New Georgia had framing himself, expressing his views on this very good submission. Say. But it comes down to how committed we are going forward. All this legislation here, they are absolutely excellent here, sir. But if we don't have the leadership, drive within the system itself, everything about it. So let's hope that we don't. Now that we have come up with a more reformed, rejuvenated, to rekindling the spirit and then inculcate the whole new pathway of public service culture that we want to see going forward into the future here. Let us not allow that drive here for him just basically vanish no more somewhere in the near future no more, and it will really affect him now. The institutions play in country share. Sir, when we speak about going forward into the future, how Nababayomi make these institutions for me strong, sir. This is where we really need a commitment from our own self, from government, proper resourcing. We need to resource. And then we need to have a balanced approach too. Those that have a related interest in ensuring that the public service must function, to certain high level standard that you may require them to perform here. Let us not forget them. Do not neglect them. Institutions like ICAC, the Ombudsman Commission, these governance institutions must play their role too. I must say. And I've seen, some of the relationship, in the way that this bill is being drafted. I think that is the way to go. Just speaking about one of a very important principle no more that we think that this organization, or I mean the whole intention that we have in reforming, the public service going forward here, this whole principle of merit-based here. I just want to say something about this here. This is something that most of the time Yumi Marawa lose track of him. We say it, but never practice it. Honestly. We say it, but we never practice it. I don't know why. Leader M talk about, Wantokism and other connected issues of nepotism and all of that, today. But I think it is not something that, it is so difficult, for Yumi to comply with it. It has to be a merit-based, no. Right qualification. We must now start to spend resources in training people for the jobs that will become available in future for those that we know and we have targeted and earmarked them to be qualified in that field to be able to fill those jobs, Emosense. That's what we should be doing. And I think the time frame that we have given to the Commission to come up with reports, like 5 years, for instance, I think that is sufficient for Yumi to be able to earmark ourselves the time for training. And I want to say that, Tawia, I think thank you for choosing that period, 5 years. I think it's just the right time for Yumi for training other people, in whatever field that Yumi like him, to gain the right experience and qualification to be able to handle these jobs. And when the time him come for someone to move on, please ask them kindly to move on. There's no point in us waking up the other day, at the right time and then say, no, I think we keep him money stuff. You'll be part of that problem. Let them move on. Say. Let's get the right people for coming inside. Say. That's what I have been seeing happening in our system. So we have a public service that for sometimes got crippled simply because, the right people that should be coming in to occupy other jobs here or to take over the responsibility, we're still holding on to some fella that and the majority. I mean, if you go into the public service, let's do this, the whole process of what Nabaimi say, not cleaning. Yeah, let's go through the whole process of. I think cleaning up now. No more. Yeah, you may clean up now. Get the right people. Rightly qualify more people for going to their Prime Minister. I think that's what we need to That's what we need. That's what we need to have. And of course, coupled with what we have been talking about, others have mentioned it, the digital infrastructure that is available right now. That one, that will aid the whole reform and the rebuilding of our public service going forward here. I've been talking about the data center. Not only local government, me him something go every hair blame out now, Mike. Not only local government, but in almost aspect you mean now. Health, education, the tourism potential you mean. This country must own those data. And we must have the ability to price them. That is the new product block country blue you mean, Let's have our data center. Deputy Prime Minister, yesterday you talked about airport. Today I'm talking to you about the digital center, the data center. Please. You go to, you see other countries that have come up. They have quietly developed their data center. To now, the first defense block country block is to protect their data. You may say one time, you meeting say, or a terrorist law airport now, or the data now, first defense block. They have to protect it, I'm saying. You go to Singapore, the first frontline army blotter is the digital army, I'm saying. That's their frontline army, protecting their data, I'm saying. So, I think we will have a fabulous public service going forward if we have these two going together. Let us reform, rejuvenate him and rekindle him now, the new our public service, and then come up with the supporting infrastructure, the digital infrastructure to support it. I think this country will make a difference going forward in the next 5 or even 10 years here. So, that is my submission. So, and that will be merit-based. So, that would be our commitment to ensure that we have a merit-based public service emotion. And let us not lose track, because if the machinery block government may fail, this country will go down again. Emotion. There will be a lot of wrangling. If the machinery may fail, there will be a lot of wrangling, and then people will say, look, government is not in control of our own institution. Let's have another form of government, to protect our own self. That happened in the past. We went down. You may come and quickly rebuild these institutions. We came up again. Emotion. So, I'm really encouraging all of us that let us put our thinking, the whole spirit of this legislation here, we must all support it. Emotion. In its entirety. Emotion. In its entirety. There's so many values that we talk about, lawyer, that somehow we as human, you may fail him. But I think the core issues that you may need to stand on and still remain. And we will still make a difference, I must say. And we will still make a difference. So I want all of us, to see this public service bill here. Sorry, I am after 40 years then, or so years before we have another public service bill. Let's have it every 5 years, I think would be good. And it would have commensurate very well with the kind of reporting that we would expect from the Public Service Commission, and then revisit the legislation, and then you may slowly improve on it, emotion, yeah? Because we are talking about human behaviors here, emotion, that we are trying to regulate it, that we are trying to come up with some kind of rules to be able to navigate him now, their attitude, yeah, going forward, emotion, sure. So let's put our hope, behind these bills, because, as I look back in the past, like the first 10 years of our independence, I was just merely, 2 years from university, come back and join in public service too, law that time. Man, you're doing something wrong, you appear before the commission almost immediately. And time you sit down go there, you look low the late, chairman of Public Service Commission, the first speaker of Yumi, say Fred, me samal by 6 seconds we used to appear before them to justify what we were doing. Even got interviewed before promotion too. This time, you were never interviewed by the commission. Some people promote no more. Look at that. Me thought before I go interview you. But I need what I said and everything, then go sit on the front door of the commissioner, get interviewed, hammered or so many questions, and then go, come out, you sweat all about. Hey, I think Baba, you take him out to walk. Well, luckily you take him, yeah. Those were the public service that, some of us, came through before, say. A little bit small something, you've got to justify, we have to do certain things outside of your role too. By the way, Prime Minister, there was something that you announced him last time about KAPL, yeah. I got scrutinized by the commission, in those times, yeah. Man, we sign him not this one, yeah. Man, me tell him you. I had to appear before the commission, when my own people choosing me to lead the discussion at that time here, I had to appear before the commission here to explain why it will not in any way demean him now the office that me occupy at that time as a director of energy. So many questions, me come outside, culture, me fall down to lo hot sun here, lo there. But that was it. That's a kind of a discipline, and that's a kind of a check that even the highest body, the employing body, Bloyomi, lo inside lo service Bloyomi, have to take him, and those of us, that are subject to it, have to go through that process. So let's see if that's the kind of governance that we will have to enforce in making sure that we will develop a new kind of a culture in our public service going forward. But remember, this world is a little bit different to you. This time, we will blow UN, but Donald Trump not do it. Go striking peace along Gaza. That's UN's job. But the President of the United States can go strike him now. So let's hope that in our situation, because of the changing situation that you got in, but you find him another body now for do that role to make sure that the integrity and the governance of law institution cabinet overtake him no responsibility below commission. Leave it to the commission. Cabinet, you mean no interfere with them commission. That's what we need to do. The role of the commission must be the role of the commission to keep a check and to ensure that the core values and principles that we should expound out of our public service and come out of that check. Yumi cabinet concentrate on the role of Yumi. Of course, ministers' responsibilities have now been specified in charge of legislation, and I really appreciate that. But I think it's all about reminding employees of their role. So it should be incumbent upon ministers, the leadership in charge of ministry, and all our responsible officers, including the commission too, for reminding our employees of their roles and responsibility, of the values that they have to respect him. The roles and the values and the principles that they have to be, entrenched in their mindset, That's what in this legislation, So say, but others now to speak about more details and principles and about this bill. Me just like for expressing no to show my support of this bill, and I wanna say also that let us all help the minister, give all the support to make sure that we have this bill passed, and then give him the space so that he can make those reforms for our public service, for the benefit of our people and our country. So I still maintain public service is the core institution of our state institution. If you may fail him, this country will go down. If we fail ourselves in this front, country will go down. So let us embrace it. And there are little things inside too that you may need for improvement. For instance, on the division of labors, on the creation of the employment cadres in charge of public service. Say you here should not be. You should have a different cadre. The legislative cadres here, Parliament. You should not put in more the same model of public service. Not because you lo there and Clark lo there, Mr. Speaker, but me must be truthful or thinking lo me. I've seen that Yomi discouraging people, to support this highest institution here, simply because, on the placement long employment number, on that establishment register. Minister, Prime Minister, I ask you, let's make some difference next year, to our parliament. You may give me more, sema tawe blomia lo health here. Give that card here, longo, what na blue lo health, medical, give them, that space. The engineering and the technical field, that would be the interest of the Deputy Prime Minister, please, let's start to work on this. That's, I think, the division of responsibility and employment within the public service. If we do that, you mean by providing the blockage in between as we move on. So let us start off with that first time. Clean up the establishment, redo it, come up with a better, cadre classification. I'm sure that we will have a good pathway going forward. Because the moment it will start for triggering contestation law the human, the labor force, they are all human just like us. Reform where into make a member no happen. There will be resentment law there. There will be different kind of attitude by I'm sprung up here. So let's do that first. Mishore law what law here parliament. Let's give them a different cadre to support him. No, this highest institution along the country. If we do it to the judiciary, we do it to parliament too. You all agree? I'm sure all of you will agree. Pass. Yeah. So if I run the parliament, you will not smile. There will still be a lot of work to be done. But that's what we need to do. So by me leaving more some aspect of others, I just want to say to you, with all the comments that I've made, me really supporting this bill here, and my urge to this House is that let us support it. The public service is right in the center of our state institution. Let us protect it. Let us work with it. I think it will make a lot of difference. If we get it on the right track, this country will move forward better into the future. With those remarks said, I support this bill, of course. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable MP for Central Longyear. And with that contribution, let me suspend Parliament and we'll resume at 2:30 this afternoon.